So earlier in the month, it was announced that Warner Brothers would be shelving their new Batgirl film after having already spent $90 million to produce it. The move was devastating for Batgirl's fan, but it made sense from a financial perspective. The studio realized that the film would be a massive, embarrassing flop and decided that they'd rather just take the tax write-off than cut their losses. Now, of course, if they'd asked me, I could have told them before they even made the movie that a movie called Batgirl would be terrible. I mean, replacing Batman with a 97-pound female, it's like remaking Jaws, except with a dolphin. And on second thought, that analogy probably makes Batgirl seem more interesting than it really is. Although we'll never know for sure, as the studio executives have taken the Batgirl film and thrown it into a volcano, ensuring that nobody ever sees it and it never falls into the wrong hands. But the untimely demise of Batgirl has created a void now. The public is clamoring for a new feminist superhero to step in and carry the mantle. Well, really, nobody is clamoring for a feminist superhero. Literally nobody on Earth. That's the whole reason why Batgirl ended up in the volcano to begin with. Be that as it may, Hollywood is ready to deliver what nobody actually asked for or wanted. And this week, Marvel's new series, She-Hulk, debuted on Disney+. Even before the show premiered, the cast had already started using the Batgirl tragedy as a means of morally blackmailing both the studio and the public into supporting their project. A headline on Yahoo News reads, "After Batgirl cancellation, She-Hulk cast and creators stress the importance of studios supporting female-led superhero projects." Translation, you all better pretend to actually like this bull we produced or you're all sexist. The message is made clear in the article. It says, Marvel boss Kevin Feige was among the first to reach out to Batgirl directors Adil El Arbi and Balil Falah, who also worked on Ms. Marvel, to express his support after the cancellation news. Likewise, the team behind She-Hulk shared their sympathy. Quote, "It is so hard to imagine the disappointment that those filmmakers must be feeling because these projects take years," says She-Hulk director and executive producer Kat Coiro. "I've been working on this for years, and the idea of it never seeing the light of day is, well, it must be crushing." She-Hulk has long been regarded as one of the most powerful feminist icons found in the pages of comic books, making the arrival of Attorney at Law all the more impactful at this particular moment in time. Coiro says, "It's exciting because just her very existence is a feminist. She's large, she's in charge, she controls her own narrative. The MCU has for a very long time been very male-heavy. There hasn't been a lot of female representation. So it's nice to finally start making some progress in that area." Now, I do agree that large is quite often an apt description of feminist. I'm not sure about the rest of it, though. In any case, the blackmail worked, and She-Hulk, despite being just as humiliatingly terrible as Batgirl would have been, was allowed to debut and be seen by literally dozens of people. One particular clip from the show's premiere has been making the rounds online, though, helped by the IMDb Twitter account, which tweeted the video with the caption, "Ahem, say it louder for the people in the back." The clip shows She-Hulk lecturing regular Hulk about how difficult her life is. Because, of course, the whole reason audiences flock to superhero shows is to hear their favorite superheroes complain and feel sorry for themselves. Here's the clip.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
As we can see, self-pity is She-Hulk's superpower. Her high-pitched whining is enough to make any supervillain flee out of just sheer annoyance. Of course, the experiences she describes in that monologue, which was apparently curated from a Twitter thread written by a Jezebel blogger, are all, at worst, mild annoyances. I mean, if those experiences are the worst hardships in your life, then you have led an exceedingly privileged existence. In trying to explain why her life is so much harder than Bruce's, She-Hulk can only mention the trauma of receiving unwanted compliments and of having her credentials questioned. And she then says that she can't complain about these experiences because if she does, she'll be insulted or murdered. The interesting thing about this claim is that it's not only delusional and insane, but also self-negating. She clearly has no problem complaining and is quite eager to do so. And far from being killed for it, she's instead hailed as a hero. This is a common theme with the feminists. They claim that they're not able to talk about their troubles, when in fact, that's the only thing they ever talk about. And anytime one of them does talk about it, the others say, yeah, finally someone said it. What do you mean finally someone said it? This is all, we've heard this a billion times. But simply exaggerating your own sufferings is one thing. We can all tend to fall into that trap sometimes. The real problem with She-Hulk's approach here, and with the approach of feminists in general, is the assumption that no man could ever suffer or does ever suffer like women suffer. She-Hulk declares her struggles to be infinitely more numerous and severe than Bruce's or any other man's. Now, we could maybe ignore the claim if it was just coming from a character called She-Hulk, but the problem is that this is the attitude that our society seeks to foster in girls. That's why they put it in the monologue to begin with. In truth, there is nothing to be gained by comparing two groups against each other and trying to determine who has a harder time of it. But if that is the game we're playing, most of the statistical evidence would seem to suggest that in modern America, women generally have the better deal. That's why girls are more likely to graduate high school, less likely to be suspended or expelled. Women are less likely to commit suicide, to become drug addicts, to become hopeless, to homeless, to less likely to suffer from workplace injuries. Women are less likely to be the victims of violent crime. They're less likely to be blown to pieces on the battlefield. But sure, I guess the homeless, drug-addicted, suicidal, war-injured veteran on the street probably doesn't get catcalled very often. So now he's got nothing on She-Hulk. Now, nobody is suggesting that women have no challenges or obstacles to overcome, but the idea that they have more obstacles than men or more serious ones is just not borne out by the facts. I'm sorry. And besides, as already noted, the comparisons are absurd and pointless. The only thing worse than being self-pitying is to be competitive in your self-pity. It's bad enough to walk around dwelling on your misfortunes. It's even worse to insist that you win the prize for the most misfortunate person in the world. And it's especially ridiculous to make this claim when you are a young, attractive woman in the modern Western world. Because our modern society is essentially tailor-made to facilitate the happiness and success of that category of people. This has probably been a more serious analysis of a She-Hulk monologue than was necessary, but someone has to mansplain these things to her, and I was more than happy to step up to the plate. And someone must especially say to She-Hulk that you, ma'am, are canceled. I know you're craving some more Matt Walsh Show content. Well, I have some great news for you. If you head over to dailywire.com and subscribe now, you can watch or listen to my full show. You can also listen to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll see you there.